Lexington, and we also welcome our virtual audience from around the country. Glad that you're joining us today. For now, please locate for our online audience the chat box and toggle the to icon to everyone to ensure that we can see your questions and comments as we move through today's presentation. Let us know where you're logging in from and what kind of work you're seeking. That'll help us as we receive job leads and as we're working with employers. Just let us know in that chat box what type of work you're seeking. It'll also help us build out our panels and guest presenters for future sessions. Our agenda for today is we're going to share success stories. We'll have our main speaker, super excited about Audrey speaking today. We will share active job leads. We do have recruiters in the house today that will be sharing some live job leads. We also welcome online recruiters and employers that have job leads to post those at the end. We'll have a partner update, and then we'll share about our next job club schedule that would begin in January. We're working on that now, but we'll give you a little bit of update. The mission of the Job Club is to provide a positive environment for motivated job seekers to network, learn best practices for the job search. We meet the second and the fourth Tuesday of each month, although this month for December, we're only meeting today. We'll begin again in January, and we do meet year-round. More information on the schedule can be found at www.ukalumni.net/job club. I'd like to introduce our facilitators today. I'm Caroline Francis, Director of the University of Kentucky Alumni Career Services Program, joined by Diana Doggett, County Extension Agent for Family and Consumer Services here in Fayette County, Amanda Shagney, Associate Director for UK Alumni Career Services, Nicole Waite, Employment Specialist with UK STEPS Temporary Employment, and Suzanne Smith, Sunny Saylor, and Ellie Goodman are also working behind the scenes to bring you Job Club each time. And we're so grateful for this wonderful group of professionals. We are in person here at the Fayette Cooperative Extension Office in Lexington. Always welcome visitors and employers to join us. We will continue to also have Zoom webinar presence. We do have a chat moderator available, so please utilize that chat box. And Facebook Live, which is view only, so there's no chat moderation or job leads newsletter to come from folks that just watch it on the Facebook Live. We encourage you to check out our free Job Club resource packet with great articles, frequently asked questions, Lexington area staffing information, lots of great resources in that packet. And there's information on that that'll be in the link and here on the slide. Again, we always welcome employers and recruiters to share their active job leads. At the end, we will be giving them a 1-minute spotlight. Watch your email later today for job leads that have been emailed to us that we will be sending out to people that have registered for Job Club. So watch your email for that later today. We ask that you keep confidential people that you may see or names you might recognize in that chat box. Some people are conducting a confidential job search, so let's just be respectful of their privacy. Check out job search related articles that are included also in that email. We research constantly best practices for the job search, and we always attach some really timely job search articles that'll be in that email that you'll receive. And PowerPoint recordings, the PowerPoint slides and recordings are available after the presentation. Success stories. This is where we need you to load the chat box. When you land your job, please let us know. If you have an interview, let us know. Go ahead and in that chat box, since we've met the last time for Job Club in November, Who's had an interview, or maybe you've updated your resume or scheduled a networking coffee? Let us know in that chat box. Also, for our in-house audience, if you have a success story, something that's moved you forward in your job search, let us know and we'll give you a little spotlight. We love hearing from you all. That's the highlight of our week when we get emails from people that have been to Job Club. We even had a former Job Club attendee who was on a panel come this morning and bring a guest to encourage them in their search. So we love it when you pay it forward and share your good news and let other people know about Job Club. Very excited about our guest speaker today. Audrey has been a speaker for us before, incredibly talented, knowledgeable person that we're so honored to have back today as a guest presenter. Audrey Bachman is a senior training specialist for human resources, training and development at the University of Kentucky. She advocates for lifelong learning and delivers training and development programs for UK that focus on improving interpersonal and team communication, promoting inclusive leadership practices, and supporting professional development. Audrey is an expert in public health management, organizational communication, talent management, instructional design, and e-learning development. She's also an active member of the Association for Talent and Development, and she will be defending her PhD soon. Please help me welcome Audrey Bachman.
Thank you all so much for such a warm welcome. I truly appreciate it. And God willing, I'll defend that PhD at some point soon. So I'm looking forward to that as well too. So happy to be back at Job Club again today. I've been here before and I had a great time with a virtual audience. And so it's really cool to see some people in person today as well too. So excited to see you all. So what I'll be talking about today, kind of the topic du jour for this morning, is goal setting for career development. So if you think about it, a couple of big questions. They're a little bit overwhelming. What are your future career goals and what do you plan to do to achieve those? So those can be some really big questions. They can be some really overwhelming questions to sit and think about depending on where you are in your career. But, even though that is a challenge to kind of realize what your biggest career hopes and dreams are, with the right strategies, we can really be strategic about our efforts and kind of aim those efforts in a way that will help us to really meet what our goals are and make them into something that we really can attain. So today we're going to think critically about our career goals, hopefully. So I'm not a lecturer by any means, so this will be a very interactive session. I'm glad we've got some folks here to interact today, but we're going to talk about motion versus action a little bit and kind of the difference in that, especially as it relates to kind of career goal setting, whatever your career goals may be as you're joining us today. We'll talk about how to create attainable goals. We'll talk about a system to create attainable goals that you've probably heard of before, but hopefully we can bring a fresh perspective to that for you today. We'll also talk about persisting in times of challenge, because even with the most well-designed goals, things can get in the way, right? Life can get in the way sometimes of our goals. So thinking strategically and critically about that today, hopefully will be helpful for you in your career goal development. And we'll also implement our SMART goals. Again, you've probably heard of SMART goals before, but hopefully we'll bring a fresh perspective to that today. So the first thing that I would like for us to get started in doing is thinking about some of the things that may have happened in the past. What have our past goals looked like, and how did that turn out? So if you'd like to find a partner, maybe someone close to you to chat about this, or if you'd like to take a few moments, if you're joining us virtually, to reflect, you can share in that class chat if you'd like to as well. Did you ever set a goal that you didn't achieve? Did you ever set a goal that you did not achieve? And particularly, what happened? What did you learn from that experience? So if you want to spend a few moments reflecting for yourself, or if you want to find a partner to chat, I'll take trios and larger groups if you'd like that as well. Did you ever set a goal that you didn't achieve? And what did you learn from the experience? We'll take a few minutes to talk through that.
And I think I learned
We'll take a couple more minutes to reflect and chat. Did you ever set a goal you didn't achieve? And what did you learn? Take about another 30 seconds to think it through. If you've shared your thoughts in the chat, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I heard lots of great conversation here in person. Hopefully that reflection was helpful for you in thinking about goals that you didn't achieve. And you're probably thinking, Audrey, that's not a really positive way to start out our goal setting this morning. But we learned a lot from failure. And that's actually one of my biggest stories as someone who is an instructor and a teacher in a lot of environments, is that we have the ability to learn a lot from the things that don't go as planned. So perhaps you talked about a lot of different things in your conversation, or maybe you reflected on some things that happened along the way of reaching those goals. We make decisions almost every single day. Some are simple, some are more complex. And I think that career goals really fall into that complex category. In making decisions about your career goals, you may experience any number of things. Uncertainty is a big one. Anybody talk about uncertainty in their goals? Perhaps. Many of the facts may be unknown, or even outside of your control as it relates to uncertainty. The complexity exists here. There are a lot of interrelated factors to consider. What am I doing now? What do I want to be doing? Those sorts of questions are really big. We may have high risk consequences as well, too, in our career goal setting, depending on what that looks like. The impact of the decision may be very significant. We may also have a lot of alternatives as well. So hopefully, as we're career goal planning, we've got a lot of options to choose from. And looking at the current market, we do have some options out there. And then on top of this, we have interpersonal issues as well. And that's kind of the big thing that I think a lot of people really miss out on in achieving their goals, is thinking about these interpersonal issues. How does this decision impact the people who are important to me? So a lot of things to consider today. And when making decisions that include complex issues like this, we really have to flex our muscles, y'all. We've got to flex our problem-solving muscles. We got to flex our decision-making muscles. And it's important, as we're thinking about flexing in this way and setting our goals, to really recognize the difference between motion and action. And this is something that I learned along the way, especially in a job search that I conducted a few years ago when I landed into this role. There is a lot of things that you can do, but really what constitutes action? What's going to be the action that's going to create that result for us, so we're not spinning our wheels and get stuck in one place? So when we think about action versus motion, motion is something that happens when you're really busy doing something. You're busy for all intents and purposes, but that task in of itself will never present the outcome that we're looking for. So just motion won't really get us to that outcome. That action is going to be what gets us there. Action is the type of behavior that gets us a result. So I've got some different examples here with what motion versus action really looks like. So outlining 20 ideas for an article to write, that's motion. But actually writing that article and publishing that article, that's action. I also got some diet and exercise examples up here. We're getting closer to the new year. Perhaps those goals are on your mind, as it is for a lot of people. But I think in comparing fitness and nutrition goals to career goals has a lot of utility. Searching for a better diet plan and reading a book on the topic is motion, but actually doing the thing and developing those healthy habits is going to be your action. So the key here is to design meaningful goals that are designed for action. So really thinking about our goals and what we can do to really engage in that action, because we don't want to be stuck in a place necessarily where we're just going through the motions. That can be a really stressful place to be, especially if you're searching for a job. So what we're going to do now is spend some time really thinking about what our goals are. I promised at the beginning of this session that we would be very interactive, and it's really about you and your own goals. I can't really tell you a whole lot about the goals that work best for you. So this is going to be the part of the session where I really transition and put that focus on you. And as we work through this, I want to let you know that I've got a lot of interactive tools that I'll be sharing with you today. And I want to encourage you to hang on to those links and tools. I'm going to be leaving those open and active just for our participants that we have joining today, so that if you want to work along in our session, you can do that. If you find yourself, wow, I want to spend some more time on this, let me work on this later, you can do it after the session. Or if you want to do something multiple times and work with your goals, these tools will be open and available for you. But we need to start somewhere, y'all. We need to think about what our goals actually are. So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes here. To identify 1 to 2 career goals that you have. And these are goals that you would like to accomplish relatively soon. So thinking about in the next 6 months to a year, what are 1 or 2 career goals that you would like to accomplish? So we'll take a couple of minutes, write some notes for yourself. If you're joining us virtually, you don't need to share or anything like that. We're going to be using these goals as we work through the rest of our session. And again, this is just a draft. So even if it's a little scratch, just some notes, maybe it doesn't completely make sense, perfect. We love to see it. but write down a couple of goals you'd like to accomplish in the next 6 months to a year. Take about 90 more seconds. We're not seeking perfection to start out, so identify what feels good, what's on top of your brain. Take about 30 more seconds. Thank you for taking some time to think this through and reflect on what your goals are. Hopefully you've got at least one. You've got at least one career goal that you want to focus on. If you have multiple, amazing. I love to see that. So what we're going to do today, hopefully, again, you have at least one goal. If you've got more than one, if you're super ambitious joining us this morning and you've got 4 or 5 or more, kudos to you. But try to figure out that one that really shakes to the top for you right now. The one that you think is the top priority for you. And whichever one of those that you feel like is the top priority, why don't we focus on that particular goal for the rest of our session? So as I said, I've got tools for you that will be available. So if you want to return to some of those other goals that you identified at a later time and work through those goals in the same way that we're about to work through this one, you can absolutely do that. In fact, I encourage it, and hopefully this is helpful for you. So I'm guessing that many of you have heard of SMART goals before. So here in person, give me a hand raise here if you've heard of SMART goals before. That makes sense. I see a lot of nods. Yes, Audrey, SMART goals is not something that's new, but SMART goals is something that, as much as we've used it, I think I've heard of this since I was a very young adult. SMART goals have been part of the things that I've learned, but a lot of times people have different acronyms that they use for SMART. So I'm going to go through the acronyms that we'll use today. And if you've heard of any other acronyms that fit into this, feel free to share that as well. I think other folks have some different ways of thinking of it, and that's amazing too. But we're going to start thinking about how to make our goals smarter. And we're going to focus a lot on this first letter today. And hopefully by the time we leave today, we have got the most specific goal possible. We have the most specific goal possible. What exactly is it that we're trying to accomplish? And a specific goal should answer a lot of questions for us: the who, the what, the when, the where, the why. And we're going to dig into those questions here in just a few moments. But most of the models that I've seen use specific. The S stands for specific for a very good reason. The more specific our goals are, the more likely we are to achieve them, and also the more likely we are to understand how that goal impacts other parts of our lives as well. The next letter in the acronym is the M, or measurable. So how will you know when this goal is achieved? How will you know when this goal is achieved? The way you measure your goal attainment really will look different depending on what that goal is. And again, we've got some tools today to help you answer some of those questions and get a little bit more down in those details about what it is or what it means to measure the success of the goal. We'll also use achievable in our model as well. So that A stands for achievable. Are you able to achieve that goal? Yes or no? But also, are you able to achieve that goal with the time and resources that you currently have? A lot of times, if we think about how achievable our goal is, we start to notice some resources that perhaps we don't have as much of as we need to achieve that goal. So then we can be strategic about that. And we'll explore that in just a little bit. The R, I've seen this one vary a little bit. The T, I've seen vary a little bit as well in some other models, but today we're going to use that R as a relevant goal. So what that means is that whatever your goal is, whatever y'all wrote down, should correspond with your other life goals. So all that to say that our goals shouldn't necessarily get in the way of some of the things that we've got going on in life. And in thinking about that relevance, we may start to think about some things we need to say no to for now. If we're saying yes to something, we're always saying no to something else. So figuring out that nuance in terms of your goals can be really helpful, especially with career goal setting. And then last but not least, this is probably the most important, in my opinion, next to specific, is that time bound. Your goal should have a deadline. So a perpetual goal is not a whole lot of fun. As someone who has worked to achieve some very long-term goals in my life, it's not really something that you want to lament in and spend a whole lot of time that's unnecessary. So we want to be as strategic with our time as we can and defining our time parameters and what works for us to keep ourselves accountable. So with this stable deadline, the idea is that the pursuit of the goal is a little bit more rigorous and more likely to be completed. So that's our SMART acronym. Many of you have heard this. Maybe you've operationalized this before. So if you have, fantastic. This is going to be something that feels familiar to you. So now we're going to turn and we're going to dig in to these SMART goals, and we're going to take what goal that you've identified and kind of run it through these different parameters to help you get the best goal, the most specific goal possible. So we're going to start with specific. So I've got some questions that are listed on the screen there. And as I mentioned a few moments ago, you may have identified more than one goal. Maybe you identified 2, 3, 4, or more than that. Make sure that we're focusing on one goal for now. So whichever top priority goal that is. And I'd like for you to take a look at that goal and answer these questions related to it. Remember, I said with specific goals, we're answering a lot of questions: the who, the what, the when, the where, the why. So what I recommend, and I'm going to give us about 3-ish minutes for this, start from the bottom. Start from the bottom. Start with the why and work your way up. So look at that goal and start to answer these questions. You don't have to write a novel or anything. A few notes will suffice, but hopefully this is something that you'll be looking back to. So make sure that you take some notes and at least write a few things down or record a few things related to each of those questions. So I'll give you all about 3 minutes starting now to think about these questions. You'll definitely need this information here in a few minutes, so make sure that you're recording this somewhere where you can access it. about 90 more seconds to answer these questions. Again, we'll reference some of these responses later, so make sure you're hanging on to your notes that you've recorded. Got about 30 more seconds on the clock. Okay, thank you all for taking some time to reflect. Hopefully, the goal that we started out with is a little more specific. Now we're thinking in terms of more specifics here with our goal. Now what we want to do is really dig in here, because my goal before you leave today is to help you to create the most specific career goal possible that works for you. So we're going to spend a little bit more time kind of in our S area with that specific. And so this next activity that I'd like for us to do, we've got some options here. So I know I've got several people here in person, got several people joining us virtually as well. So we've got some options here. So I'll explain kind of the virtual option that we have first, and then I'll give some instructions for our in-person folks after that. So essentially what we want to do now is, whether with a virtual partner here with technology or with a human being here in person, we're going to do a little bit of career goal consulting here. And so the instructions that you see on the screen are largely for our in-person folks, but the thing that I want to focus on is what you see at the bottom of the slide. And what you see here is that I've taken a career goal and I've made it as specific as possible. And perhaps we can make it even more specific if you're looking at it. But if you look at that first goal, my goal is to land my dream job. Amazing, beautiful, love it. I want everyone to land their dream job, but that leaves a lot to the imagination. What is my dream job? What's the industry that I'm going to work in? How am I going to get there? How am I going to land this job? What's my strategy? So many questions that I have. But through those questions, I landed on something a little bit more specific here. My goal is to apply to 2 remote jobs per week within my desired salary range at innovative healthcare organizations over the next 6 months. It's a lot of detail. That's a lot of detail. But with that detail, we can really think about the things that we need to do to take action. There are a lot more actionable items here than there are in my goal is to land my dream job. With the dream job goal, where do we start? There's a lot there. But with the second one, hey, I can start by applying to 2 jobs per week. So what I would like for you to do, if you're joining us virtually, is to look at that specific goal, and you can scan that QR code that's on the screen, or you can look at some links. I think Amanda's sharing those links and some things in our chat so that you can access that if you don't have something to scan that QR code. But if you want to work individually, if you're here in person, you can do that and scan that QR code, and it's going to work through a series of questions with you about your goal. And that tool is designed specifically to get you to a place of specificity. So if you want to do that, you can. Or if you're joining us in person, you can talk to human beings about this as well. So if you want to get into a group and share your goal, and then ask your group members some questions here. Ask those questions. You don't necessarily have to respond to the questions that they're asking. Our goal is to really prompt you to a place where you're getting more and more specific. So we're going to take about 8 minutes here to work through this. It'll take about 8 minutes. Again, there's options for how we do this via in-person or virtual, but I'll give us some time now to work through our consulting activity. We'll take about 8 minutes. Again, you don't have to answer the questions. Just help your partner or group think about these questions a little bit more critical. Where, what, why, who, when, anything else that helps. Could I grab some water while y'all work?
Some better word for that. I believe. I got you. Awesome. Yeah. No, yeah. Oh, good. Right.
We'll take about 4 more minutes. So we're about the halfway mark.
Yeah. 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 I think it's
We'll take a couple more minutes, about 2 more minutes.
Yeah. I didn't.
Okay, let's go ahead and begin to bring it back together. Let's go ahead and begin to bring it back together. For those of you who are working with our online tool, if you're still working through that, amazing. If you want to pause, you can. If you want to keep working through it and hit that submit button, you can. I want to say that as we work through using some of these tools, anything that you respond in that particular tool will be emailed to you. So you'll get a recording of all those responses so you can take all that great work that you're doing today and keep pushing and moving with it after our session as well. So hopefully in speaking with our partner here in person, I heard some great conversations there, and perhaps in answering all those why questions, if you were using that online tool, that tool is designed based on an exercise called 9 Whys. And you're probably thinking, Audrey, if I knew that I was going to be working with a toddler asking me all these why questions, I don't know if I would have scanned on that tool. But in thinking about the why, we can uncover some incredible things. So hopefully you're feeling like your goal is just a little bit more specific than it was when you started, when you wrote that first thing down on your paper this morning. So what we're going to do now is transition. We've got our specific goal, and we're going to hang on to that information I told you a few moments ago, and we're going to keep working with it and keep using this information, and hopefully we're going from that first example to that second example, getting more and more added on to this goal. And what I would like for us to do to work through the rest of the letters in our SMART acronym is to use one of our other tools that we have, which is an interactive SMART goal tool. So I'm going to switch the slide now, and hopefully you'll get that. Try to do it here. There we go. Hopefully you can see that QR code. I think Amanda's going to scan or put some things in our chat for us if you want to click on that link. But this is a new tool. It's our interactive SMART goal tool. Again, you'll have access to this after the session. I'm going to leave it open for you all. And so in this survey, which I ask that you take some time independently to work through and reflect, you'll enter some of that information that you've already worked on. So all those specifics that you worked through for the last few minutes, you'll have some stuff to put in that first place that we're asking about those specific questions. And then that tool is going to guide you through the rest of the acronym. It's going to ask you questions about how to make your goal measurable, how to make it more achievable, more relevant, and what time parameters we need to set. Typically, this tool takes on average about 8 minutes for people to complete. So now we're going to have some quiet time for about 8 minutes. This may be the quietest job club session that you've attended, but again, some great time for reflection. We do not get enough time as professionals to reflect in this way. So take that time and use it. Scan that QR code or follow that link that Amanda's posted for us, and that will work you through the rest of the letters in that acronym. And again, it'll email you your results. So all that hard work and answering those questions, you'll get all that data to your email shortly. So we'll take about 8 minutes, and then I'm going to check in with everyone. We're right about the halfway mark. We'll take about 4 more minutes. Got about 90 seconds left. Got about 30 more seconds. Thank you all so much for taking some time to reflect and work through all these questions. If you're still working with that tool and you're not finished yet, you can pause for now. You can pause for now and you can go back to that survey again. Take a note of all these tools and links. These are yours to use. They're open and available for you. So if you want to continue working on these after the session, or if you want to revisit a new goal using these tools, feel free to do so following the session. And I want to take just a minute or so now to really hear from y'all in terms of how this went and what this looked like for you. So what are your thoughts as you completed this activity? What came up for you? What do you think is important to share as you work through these goals? Anything stand out to you as you answered some of the questions that you saw? Anything stand out? Any revelations or big aha moments, perhaps? These are a lot of questions, y'all. Lots of questions I'm throwing your way today. So that last question was probably the straw on top. Like, Audrey, I can't answer any more questions for you today. You've already hit me with so many. Hopefully, you've had some time to think more critically about your goals today, and whether you focused on one goal or you've got several more kind of lined up after that one to work on. These are some really great tools to help you, as I said, think critically about what your goals are, and the more specific we can get, the better. Yeah, Amanda, what do you think?
Comment in the chat here that being smart about it is key to looking on the why was really helpful.
Ah, very nice. So I hear that pretty often, especially with that non-whys tool, that answering all those why questions is really helpful to really thinking about, is this my goal, right? Because we know that many times goals can cost a lot, right? Whether it be time, resources, what have you. And sometimes through those whys, we can figure out, hey, this is not really a goal that works for me. Maybe I can pivot and focus on something a little bit different. Or perhaps in answering all those why questions, it really brought forth that true meaning for you of why you want to pursue that goal. And if we know our why, we can go against about just anything. I think there's a quote about that specifically, but hopefully that was enlightening for you. I'm glad to hear that some of those why questions were really helpful. So the last thing that I'm going to ask you to do, and I promise I'm going to stop picking on you with all these tools and codes. I've got one more code for you to scan. I think Amanda's going to share that link in our chat. And it's just one question. One question: how likely are you to achieve your goal? So having done all of this work together this morning, how do you feel? How are you feeling about that likelihood of you achieving that goal? And I should say all of this data that I've collected today from you all is housed in UK HR training and development. My team will be the only ones who see this, and it is confidential data that we do not share with other people. But we like to get a sense of how you're feeling after doing all that work with SMART goals. How likely are you to achieve that goal? And as you all are answering that question, I really want to thank you for your willingness to be reflective today. As I've mentioned, that was a ton of questions to really think about, and perhaps you didn't know you were going to have to put your thinking cap on for our session this morning, but hopefully it was helpful and meaningful for you to explore. If I can help support you with anything, please let me know. Again, thank you all for being such a wonderful audience.
Thank you so much, Audrey, for not only helping us understand the importance of setting goals, but giving us a very unique process. And you're right. Setting the wrong goals and working long-term on them can be detrimental. So we want to be sure that we are setting the right goals. So thank you again so much. Are there any other questions that might be on for our speaker today in the chat box or in the in-person audience? Okay, we're good to go. Okay, we do have a question. Just 1 second. One second. There we go. Sorry.
I was wondering if you had any other online resources or in-person resources in terms of the SMART goals. That's the first time I'd heard of it actually today. So this was a wonderful exercise. I was wondering if you had any other advice.
Of course, right.
Darian, that's a great question. And all the other resources that I have are housed in the UK HR training and development window. So I created these tools for you all specifically, kind of poached some of those tools that we use for you to have access to. So I don't have any additional ones, but those are just for you. But if I can support you in anything else, just send me an email and we can talk about goals.
Thank you.
That's any questions.
Okay, moving on, we will be discussing and sharing some who's hiring and what type of work. We'd like to ask our audience, what type of work are you seeking right now? And if we do have employers that if they have job leads, they will email us job leads by 12 o'clock today. And that would be at UK Alumni Career at uky.edu. So we will collect those and we will send those out in our post newsletter that will go out this afternoon. We'll include those in our post-meeting job list. I think we do have someone in our audience. We've got a company, Vaco, a representative from Vaco, and they're going to share some job leads at this moment.
Hi, my name's Randy, and this is Caroline. We are both recruiters at Vaco. We are a recruiting firm here in downtown Lexington. We partner with companies throughout Central Kentucky that are looking to hire. So we focus on opportunities within accounting, executive level roles, operational and managerial positions. We are a free service to the candidate side. So we help throughout the entire process, whether it be just to help with resume updates, trying to get an interview scheduled, helping with interview prepping, basically everything that we can do to help the candidate find an opportunity, but it's free service to the candidate. So just to help along the way. Right now, we're working on a lot of different opportunities. We work on contracts, so project work, contract to hire opportunities, and direct hire, which are more like a permanent style position. But we're working on bookkeeper, administrative assistants, operations managers, accounts payable, accounts receivable, buyers and purchasers, payroll, executive assistant, and office assistants or office managers. So really kind of throughout the whole spectrum, really, I always just say if someone's sitting at a desk, then we are there to try to help find an opportunity for them. So I will give out our email or phone number, and hopefully maybe we could post it into something on the PowerPoint, so that way everyone online can see as well. But feel free to reach out if you have any questions, or if you are in the job search, we'd be happy to partner up and see how we can help.
Thank you so much. And we definitely will list your job leads and your contact information in our email newsletter that will go out to our audience. So thanks again. Do we have anyone in the chat box that would like to, any employer or recruiter that would like to announce a job lead? Okay. Well, again, we have several already collected, and we will share them continuously with our LinkedIn community. So just check out those sources at all times. So now it's time for Job Club Facilitator Update. And we'll begin with cooperative extension. And obviously, due to this travesty with the hurricane in Kentucky, we have a lot of extension offices that are being used for outreach. And so that extension network has mobilized and to provide very important information to families and producers. So please, throughout the state, reach out to your extension office if you want to help or if you're in need. We're certainly there, and is a network that will supply needs at this time. Otherwise, go to your local extension office, email, and websites and newsletters, and you will find an array of programming that is taking place this week. Most of it very seasonal, fun, informational. So we'll want you to be sure and check out all those opportunities. Nicole Wade has given us some information as an update from STEPS, and she indicates that there is hiring going on for patient registration, administrative assistant. We have entrance screeners and medical assistants. So all of these and much, much more. We couldn't begin to list all the opportunities that are present in STEPS, at that site. So please check that out. Again, it is a very, very productive way to get your foot in the door, to get hired by UK and advance your career. So that could be a goal as well. And if so, steps would be for you. We want to mention that UK Alumni Career Services has several programs, and just a few of those are the Professional Development Book Club. They have their career counseling services. It's just a website that you will want to check out and take advantage of at ukalumni.net/career. Career. And it could be career events or just a career. So check that out between now and January, because you do not want to delay your process for job search, and there certainly will be resources there for you. So next time at Job Club, we have a slide up here. Oh, I must have had a blank in there. So next time at Job Club, we are finalizing our schedule for the winter, and we know it. So we're going to announce it right now.
So in the last hour, we confirmed our schedule for the spring. It's exciting. We're going to have Brad and Patrick, executive in residence at National College of Business and Economics at UK, to speak on proving your value in your first 90 days on the job.
Oh, excellent. Excellent. And, you know, it's one thing to land the job, but to understand how critical perhaps those first impressions and that timeline is. I don't think we've had anyone cover this topic before, so we're excited to bring that to you. That will take place on January the 11th. And please join us at that time. We'll be at the same place, same time at 9 o'clock. And we look forward to hearing Brad and that great topic that he is going to share. So until then, we are excited that we will have a chance for networking here in person at the Fayette County Extension Office. We invite those of you that are in our virtual audience. We hope that you have a very happy holidays, safe, that you'll take some opportunities to reach out and help those in need if possible. And we look forward to seeing you again in January the 11th. And until then, on behalf of Job Club, we are signing off now.